The restaurant was quiet, almost hauntingly so. The hum of the coffee machine, the faint clinking of dishes, and the soft jazz playing through old speakers gave the place a sense of calm, the kind that only exists late at night when the world outside is asleep. The rain tapped gently against the glass windows, and under the warm glow of a flickering lamp, a man in an expensive navy blue suit sat alone in the corner booth. His name was Richard Cole, a powerful CEO known for building a corporate empire from scratch. But tonight none of that seemed to matter. His tie hung loose, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, and his heart, though hidden behind that polished demeanor, felt painfully empty. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us that the smallest gestures can change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It means the world to creators like us, who pour heart and soul into every story we tell. Across the room, a young waitress named Emily was clearing tables. Her uniform was worn out, her shoes soaked from the rain she had walked through to reach work, and her eyes carried the quiet fatigue of someone who had seen too much struggle for someone so young. She worked double shifts almost every day, not because she wanted to, but because she had to take care of her little boy Daniel, who was only 6. Her husband had left when Daniel was just a baby, and life had been nothing but a fight ever since. Every plate she carried, every order she took, was a small step in a long battle for survival. That night, when Richard first noticed her, she was limping slightly, one hand pressed to her side, probably because she hadn't eaten since morning. Yet every time she approached a customer, she smiled, a soft, weary smile that seemed to hide a lifetime of sorrow. Something about her struck him deeply, though he couldn't explain why. Maybe it was her eyes. They had that same flicker of quiet resilience he once saw in his mother's eyes, years ago when they had nothing but hope to keep them alive. Richard had come to the restaurant to escape the noise of success, the board meetings, the endless phone calls, the empty luxury. He had everything the world could offer, but still felt a hollow ache that nothing could fill. His wife had died 5 years ago in a car accident, and though people said time heals, it never really did for him. He had become a man surrounded by people, but completely alone in spirit. When Emily approached his table, she placed the menu gently before him, her voice soft and polite. "Good evening, sir. Would you like to start with something to drink?" He looked up, and for a moment, he didn't answer. He just studied her face, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but as if he was searching for something familiar, something real. He ordered a simple cup of coffee, though he didn't even like coffee that much. He just wanted a reason to stay a little longer. As the minutes passed, he watched her rush between tables serving food, clearing plates, handling impatient customers with grace. It was late, well past midnight, and he realized she hadn't sat down once. When she thought no one was looking, she rubbed her wrist and winced in pain, but then quickly straightened herself and went back to work. There was something noble about that kind of endurance. The quiet strength of people who carry on even when the world gives them every reason to quit. When he finished his coffee, Richard asked for the bill. Emily brought it over, her eyes tired but still kind. "Here you go, sir," she said, her voice faint but steady. He nodded and reached for the check, but when his eyes fell on the small piece of paper, something inside him broke. It wasn't the amount that moved him, but what was scribbled at the bottom, written in small, shaky handwriting. "Thank you for coming. Every tip helps me feed my son. God bless you." For a long moment, he just stared at those words, the letters blurring through the tears that welled up in his eyes. He couldn't remember the last time he cried, perhaps not since his wife's funeral, but at that moment, the dam inside him burst. He imagined her little boy waiting at home, probably half asleep, hungry, maybe asking when his mom would come home. He imagined Emily counting her tips at the end of the night, praying it would be enough for rent, for food, for school. Richard quietly wiped his face, folded the bill, and took out his wallet. But instead of leaving a tip, he wrote a note on a napkin and slipped something underneath. Then he stood, adjusted his coat, and walked out into the rain without saying a word. When Emily came back to clean the table, she saw the folded napkin and the stack of money beneath it. Confused, she picked it up and read the note. Her hands began to tremble as she read the words, "I once had someone who worked as hard as you do, my mother. She taught me that true strength isn't loud, it's quiet, humble, and kind. Please don't give up. This is not charity, it's gratitude for reminding me what real courage looks like. Take care of your son." RC under the note was $10,000 in cash. Emily froze. Her breath caught in her throat as tears flooded her eyes. For a moment, she couldn't move. She sat down right there in the booth, holding the note to her chest, her whole body shaking. She had never seen that much money in her life. That single act of kindness meant she could finally pay her rent, fix her car, buy her son a warm coat, maybe even take a day off to rest. But more than the money, it was the feeling of being seen. Someone somewhere had finally looked at her not as a waitress, not as a struggling single mother, but as a human being worth helping. Meanwhile, Richard stood outside under the rain, looking up at the dark sky. For the first time in years, he felt something inside him ease, a warmth, a peace he hadn't known since his wife died. That night, he didn't go back to his mansion. He drove around the city aimlessly, remembering where he came from, remembering his own mother who once worked in diners just like this. He realized he had spent so long building a kingdom of success that he had forgotten the simple beauty of being human. Over the next few weeks, Emily's life began to change. She paid her bills, bought her son new clothes, and even managed to enroll him in a small school nearby. But she never forgot that night. Every time she served a customer, she smiled a little brighter, carried a little more hope in her heart. She framed that note and kept it in her kitchen as a reminder that miracles do exist, sometimes disguised as tired men in expensive suits. A month later, the restaurant got a call from a large corporation requesting catering for a company event. The staff were thrilled. It was the biggest order they had ever received. When the event day arrived, Emily volunteered to help deliver the food. She wore her best uniform, tied her hair neatly, and drove to the address written on the order. Her heart nearly stopped when she arrived. It was Cole Enterprises, the same logo printed on the napkin she had saved all this time. When she entered the grand building, her knees felt weak. The receptionist smiled and directed her to the 20th floor. And when the elevator doors opened, there he was, Richard Cole, the same man who had sat quietly in that booth weeks ago, the same man who had changed her life with one act of kindness. He recognized her instantly. For a moment, both stood silent, their eyes saying more than words ever could. Emily tried to thank him, but her voice broke. "Sir, you have no idea what you did for me and my son." He smiled gently and said, "Maybe I do. You reminded me what matters." That day, Richard offered her a new job, not as a waitress but as a personal assistant in his company cafeteria. He wanted her to have stability, respect, and a better life for her son. Emily hesitated, not wanting to take advantage of generosity, but Richard assured her, "This isn't pity, Emily. This is a second chance, for both of us." Months passed, and a quiet bond grew between them, not romantic at first, but something deeper, something built on gratitude, trust, and shared healing. Daniel, Emily's son, would sometimes visit the office after school, and Richard would smile watching him play in the hallway, feeling like the empty parts of his life were finally being filled with meaning again. And one day, as Emily left a report on his desk, she noticed a new frame beside his computer, the same napkin with his handwritten note, now carefully preserved. She turned to him with tears in her eyes. He simply said, "You thought you were the one who received a gift that night, but the truth is, I was the one who was saved." If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. These stories are meant to remind us that kindness costs nothing but can mean everything. Special request, tell us in the comments, have you ever received or given a small act of kindness that changed your life? We'd love to hear your story. As the camera fades out, we see Emily, Daniel, and Richard walking out of the office together into the golden evening light. The world feels a little warmer, a little softer, because somewhere in it, two broken souls found a way to heal each other through compassion. And maybe, just maybe, that's what love truly means.